All right. Hello, everybody. Today is Wednesday, October the 15th of 2025. We're doing this on Wednesday today because I had all my kids home on Monday, and there's no way this would have happened with 5 boys home. You guys wouldn't have even heard me. So hopefully this feels right and aligned. Let's go ahead and get into the transmission. You're going to notice that you can't turn on your volume or come online. You will be able to after I'm done doing this transmission. It's just to make the transmission short so that for those of you guys that don't want to watch an entire class, you can get your transmission. It's also preparing for how manifestation moon days are going to start moving. So if you guys did not see the announcements in Mighty Networks, I want to recap just a couple of things for you guys. And that is number one, I have decided to go back to splitting our moon days into bi-weekly experiences. So one is to focus on the awaken method. So that is where we're really doing a lot of life coaching around, like, where are you? Are you still trying to figure out the hell's going on? So you're in awareness. Are you still trying to stabilize yourself? Like, are you still like, I don't know what I want because I have no access to my feelings or my body, which is attunement? Are you in alignment where it's like, you know what's going on, you know what you want, but now you're having to move a lot of things around to get in alignment with your vision? Are you in vision where you've been able to cast it clearly, which is your North Star? That is what's really necessary to do this big work, is to have a vision. And then to amplify. So in this group, I decided to close the container until January, meaning your coven is completely closed. No new people coming in until we get to January. And that's because I'm reworking a couple of things to make this more efficient. So that's the first one. The second one will be astro coaching, and those classes will be very specific to charts and cards and figuring out where your soul is in its journey and its timeline. So hopefully that will kind of give us the way to be able to do both the manifestation work that's necessary and coach through that, as well as be able to understand what's happening with the stars and our own personal stars and how that might be affecting a divine timeline for ourselves. Okay. The other thing is that I will be making sure that in the very beginning of class, it is everyone's camera is muted and their faces are not on for recording purposes. And then it will just open up so that like I said, the transmission is short, simple. You guys can watch it. And then the rest of our class, which is very class specific, will not be something that I will share in our content as we progress, because it's people's personal stuff, so don't worry about any more of that for right now. It will make sense as it is being just restructured to make it more efficient. And last but not least is that we are going to start the week of the 25th, when I'm teaching a retreat, that you guys are going to get your transmission for Monday the 27th on Friday before the business day ends, as well as your tarot prompts. And that's going to start the official cycle of where you guys are going to receive the astrology transmission before class, as well as your tarot prompts, so that you can listen to it and pull your cards and come to class on Mondays ready to share like what's been coming up, so that we have that solid hour and a half for really like working through it versus just, becoming illuminated of it and then trying to work through it. So hopefully that all makes sense. So let's go ahead and get into the astrology transmission of what the heck is going on, and we'll go from there. So the very first thing is Pluto stationed direct on Monday. Monday was a really big day. We had our first quarter moon at about 2:21 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I always teach in Eastern Standard Time because this is where I am. And at that time, we also had Venus at 29 degrees of Virgo. Well, what was important about that is that we had, that total solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo, not even a month ago. Well, today is a month ago. No, actually, it's almost been a month ago. But we're like in that energy now. That energy is starting to take its form and its shape. And Virgo is about efficiency. So feeling like you need to be more clear, more efficient, less junk, straight to the point. And I don't know about you guys, but that's been affecting me a lot. And then Venus moved into 0 degrees of Libra on Monday night. So Pluto stationing direct is a big deal. You may want to take a moment to look at what was going on for you May 4th of 2025, because that is when it stationed retrograde. So just a quick teaching on that. When planets station retrograde, they take the energy internal, especially Pluto. Pluto makes us do psychological shadow work. He makes us go inside. He makes us pay attention to our fears and why we might be stuck. So on the external, you know, wherever Aquarius is for you, when he stations direct and stations retrograde over the next 20 years, he's going to be in Aquarius till 2044. This is going to be an area of your life where you are dealing with feelings of not full-on instability like Uranus. It's just this deep transformational changes. And the way that Pluto works with you is to face your fears, to face the things that you're afraid of facing, and to take them head on, and to bring the light of your awareness and shine it on what might appear to be a psychological shadow, so that the light of your awareness can alchemize it into light. Okay. And we have to be able to take the light of awareness to shine it on that, to then be able to integrate the shadow and it be a powerful, actual, accessible part of ourselves. And in order to do that with Pluto, it is facing your fears, asking what's under that, like what is under that. Okay. The next thing is Venus in Libra. She loves to be in Libra. She is not exalted in Libra, but she rules Libra and Taurus. So Taurus is more like, when Libra's in Taurus, it's more about finances. It's more about, you know, the pleasures and the sense. Hold on one second. My cat, Maui, can you stop? Oh, I'm sorry. When he wants to come in here, he just like pulls my door and it like bangs on. So with Venus in Taurus, it is more so like the Empress card in tarot. She cares about, you know, the texture of things. She cares about art and food, and she's a lot more sensorial. She's a lot more tied to like the felt senses of the human body. When she is in Libra, which is where she is, it is about more things like relationships, balance, justice, and harmony. Okay. Reciprocity is a big part of it. She wants things to feel equal. So think of like, you know, the Queen of Swords. She's very Libra. So she's looking for justice. And so Venus in Libra is very harmonious. She likes being in Libra. This is like, you know, our last couple of weeks before Venus enters Scorpio, where we will have Mercury retrograde. And that is going to be a whole thing that we're going to talk about next week, because Mercury retrograde shadow starts on Monday, October the 20th. Okay. Whenever that happens, usually some sort of miscommunication comes up, and it kind of defines what Mercury retrograde is going to be, but we will save that conversation for next Monday. Okay. So in regards to the aspects that have also happened this week, because this week was just a big week, is that when Venus entered 0 degrees of Libra, which she did on Monday evening, at the same time, just about as our first quarter moon, which was in Cancer, conjunct Jupiter, which is pushing us to grow. So when you get Jupiter and you get Pluto, it's like you really got to face your fears. Like you're being pushed, you're being, you know, challenged to expand, to face things and expand, and think about things in a new way, and to not restrict, right? But to expand towards your fear and not contract. And then Venus has been in an opposition with Neptune retrograde at 0 degrees of Aries since the moment that she crossed into Libra. So from Monday to really Thursday, there can be like feelings of confusion where you're just like, I'm not really sure, you know, what's going on there. It is a really good time for rethinking things, envisioning things, more of like the subconscious work, hypnotism, meditation, journaling, art, dance, things that are nonlinear, to help you kind of work through where these blocks are. The other thing that happened yesterday specifically was we had a grand air trine. Okay. Trines are helpful. That is from element to element to element. And three 120-degree angles of a chart. Looks like a big triangle in the chart. It was for air. Air is communication. It's your mind. It's your intellect. It's your ability to talk through things. You may have noticed that you're thinking about more things. You're needing to talk about things. And you got a lot of mental kind of chatter going on. Well, that trine was to Pluto stationing freshly direct. So a lot of communication around your fears. Then that trine to Venus at 0 degrees to 1 degrees of Libra, which was exact yesterday. And then trine to Uranus retrograde at 1 degrees of Gemini. So big energy. When we have Pluto and Uranus and Venus, it is like a wake-up call. There's some sort of wake-up call that is meant to kind of like shock you into action. And if anybody felt any of that, do me a favor and put it in the chat box if you guys have had any of that kind of surfacing for you. So what you're going to see is I'm going to go ahead and put the tarot prompts in the chat in case you want to go ahead and start pulling them. And I will just kind of finish out a couple of last things that are what I think are important aspects of this week. The most important aspect we've already done. It was Monday and Tuesday. It was the last 2 days. And when we do, a transmission that is already past, what this is called is a retroactive reading. It is just as powerful as knowing what's coming. Sometimes I think it's even better sometimes to be able to look back and know what was happening and then be like, oh, that shit came up. This might be what it's about for me. Okay. And so with regard to that, a lot of new insights, new change. I've been pulling cards for people and I keep getting the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Wands. It's like that inventive energy, new ways of thinking about things, cleaning the slate. Okay. We're only like 3 weeks out from a total solar eclipse in Virgo, who is the purge, the organizer, and the efficiency master of the zodiac. She is like, we don't need any of this bullshit. All of this bullshit is clutter. It is too hard. It's too complicated. Simplify it. Make it easier. Stop focusing on all of the like clutter and the fluff, and instead get to the meat of the issue. And that, I don't know about you guys, but that has definitely been something that I've been experiencing. So experiencing shocks in your body. Yeah. Yeah, like, so it, when you do start getting like those physical attunements, that's your body turning into an antenna. You need a ground, you got to go out barefoot on the earth, and you got to go spend some time with your feet on the ground. Or if you don't connect to the neutral charge of the earth, it will start to burn you up. And that's just a sign of new spiritual gifts starting to open up. And it's an intense ride, my friend. So maybe bring that into our coaching container on Friday. But so making sure that you guys, anytime Uranus is involved, it's shocking. He's lightning. He is 4 to 5D Kundalini energy awakening, and he is here to illuminate something. And that could be, like very drastic. It can be very rattling to a nervous system. He rules the nervous system. So when, we get these big shocking things that come through, a lot of times he can almost like paralyze us and also make us very, very anxious because it's the nervous system. So working with, polyvagal theory, making sure you're doing deep breathing, but especially with Uranus is movement. You got to channel that energy somewhere. If you do not channel your insights and your awareness into something, you will kind of feel crazy. Like it will make you feel like shaky and irritable. You got to get it out. And so to have an air trine at this time is like, it's like, you got to say the thing. You got to speak the truth. You got to name what is not working. Where am I stuck? And how much of this shit have I created for myself by focusing on all the other 15 things when really all I need to focus on is one thing? Like that is a big part of this aspect. So if anybody has had any of that, again, just share in the comments because I would love to hear. If you guys don't see it yet, make sure that you look at the chat box because that is where the tarot prompts are. And then, you know, our last couple of things is looking at the astrology for the remainder of the week. And like I said, we kind of got through a lot of the more intense things on Monday and Tuesday. Yesterday, the moon entered Leo. And then early in the morning, we had Venus in a trine to Uranus and also trine Pluto, which was making that big old air trine. And then the moon is still in Leo right now. And it is like making us feel creative and action oriented and want to take like a brave step towards something like the fire signs do. On Thursday, the moon's going to enter Virgo, and that is going to be our first check-in with the moon in Virgo since the solar eclipse. So it kind of feels like this checklist that we're moving through where whatever you said that you were willing to let go of and what you're going to call in, you're getting your first checkpoint out of 6, okay? Because we've got 6 moons before we get to our next eclipse. So hopefully that helps make some sense. On Friday, we have the sun in a square to Jupiter. You're really going to feel that Thursday though, because it's like at 2 in the morning and also on Friday. And this is like a lucky, optimistic, you know, if you're willing to expand and you're willing to, you know, believe, because Jupiter is about optimism and believing in something, it could be a really powerful day of breakthrough and success for you guys. So just remember, Jupiter can also lead to excess. So it can also be where, you know, we might think too big and too like high and miss some of the details. So just remember, like, you know, stay humble. That's Sun square Jupiter is like, stay humble, but believe, have faith. Okay. Sunday, we have the moon in Libra, and then the sun is going to quincunx Saturn. So Saturday through about Monday, you could feel like there's some restriction. You could feel like there's some challenges that you're trying to push through, which can almost feel like a wet blanket compared to the rest of the week because it was like moving and it felt like a lot of like movement was coming. But Saturn is challenges and blocks that are meant to help you master something, to gain new skills, and it can bring up like frustration and tension for sure. So that's, you know, my basic kind of update for you guys. Reminder that, you know, next week we have the new moon in Libra. It'll be at 29 degrees. Almost all of our lunations, if not all of our lunations, the remainder of the year will be at 29 degrees, which is actually important to name because it means that we're like in this kind of mastery completion energy. When there's an aspect of 29 degrees, it's called the anaretic or karmic degree. And it really demands like this kind of mastery energy where we don't get this kind of like beginner's luck, like that kind of like, you know, grease the skids kind of thing. It is like, you know what you need to do and you need to buck up and you need to take responsibility and you need to make a real plan. Saturn is, especially in these last degrees of Pisces for the next 27 years, is like a dream. Pisces without a plan, Saturn is just a wish. So he is really trying to force structures and systems that are not just illusions and dreams, but are real. They're concrete. Okay. So hopefully, you know, that makes sense. Reminder that Mercury retrograde shadow starts on Monday, October 20th. Again, we're going to talk about that on Monday next week, but it could happen, you know, even this coming weekend where you just have some confusion and challenges. And that is going to be in the middle degrees of Scorpio. Okay. So Scorpio, Mercury is like, sometimes, you know, Scorpio's got a tail. It's like sting. So just be mindful of that. That like having words that could sting or go for the jugular, which is very Scorpio. Just keep that in mind that it could come back and bite you. All right. So again, stay humble. If anything, the stars teach us like, stay humble, man. You never know how it's going to like come back around at even 6 months from now during an eclipse or something like that. So, you know, put good things out in the world, you reap good things back. That's what Saturn says. You reap what you sow. So, all right. Now, let me go ahead and read a couple of things. And please start putting your tarot prompts in there. and we'll get ready to open up. So one of the things that we are going to do today is we are going to have a breakout session. I've got a lot of really good positive feedback on that. So what we're really looking for is kind of like the meat. So if it looks like I'm like focusing on one theme for you, I'm focusing on one theme for you. And the reason for that is because you're going to take it into a breakout group and you're going to do a what's under that practice for Pluto retrograde. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right.